Hello everyone, welcome to English Guru Canada. Today we are going to talk about the present tense, the forms, and their use. The present tense has four aspects: the simple present, the present progressive, which is also known as the present continuous, present perfect, and present perfect continuous. Today we are only going to focus on the simple present tense. Simple present is also sometimes known as the present indefinite, and we use this tense to talk about a truth, a fact. So something which is true, like a scientific truth. For example, we say the sun rises in the east. So this is a fact. This is a scientific truth. We all know the sun rises in the east. Now, rises is the verb over here, and rise is the base verb, and we take an s with it to so that we can conjugate it well with the subject, the sun over here. We also use this tense to talk about a habit, a routine, and a repetitive action. So something which is repeated, which happens over and over again. For example, I can say I usually leave for work at 8 o'clock. So this means that I leave home on my work days at 8 o'clock, and that is my habit. That is what I do repeatedly every morning. Now, I've underlined leave over here because that is the verb and it is used in the simple present tense. Now, if you look over here, the verb in the previous example was rise and it took an S with it, whereas this one is without an S. It's only leave. I usually leave for work at 8 o'clock. So these are the things that we have to be very careful about when using the simple present. I'm going to talk about how to form the tense uh, later on in this video. I've also underlined usually in this example. Now, leave is the verb, but usually is an adverb over here. We would call it as an adverb of frequency. So we have adverbs of frequency like always, which would mean without any fail. So every day, I would use the term 100% when I want to say something is like continuous 100%. That would be always. And less than 100% if it is like if I every once in a while, if I don't leave home at 8 o'clock, then I would say I usually leave for work at 8 o'clock. Here is a list of a few frequency adverbs and adverbial phrases of time that we use in the simple present. So, like I said earlier, always is for 100%. Usually is also known as generally. Often is frequently, which is followed by sometimes or occasionally. Now, seldom and rarely means something which is like about, I could say, 5 to 10%, and then never is 0%. We also have other phrases of time like every week, every Monday, every month, once a week, twice a month, and so on. We could also say every year. Now, these are some of the marks, or you could say signs or hints in a sentence which could guide you towards what tense you can use. So we would not use any other tense in the present, like a present continuous or a present perfect. Uh, if I'm talking about it, I would say I usually leave at 8 o'clock. Now let's talk about how to form the simple present tense. So we'll start with the affirmative sentences, which are positive statements, and it follows the sentence structure, which is a subject plus a verb. In this case, the verb is in the present tense. So looking at this chart on the left side, where it's divided into two columns, the left hand column has the subject and the right hand column has the verb. And again, it's divided into two rows with an upper row and a lower row. So with I, you, we, they, and a plural subject, we say the base verb. For example, over here I've taken the verb walk. So, and with he, she, it, and a singular, we would use the base verb and it would take an S or an ES, depending on what the base verb is. So, for example, over here it's walks. Now, some of the books and some teachers would also say talk about these the subjects, the pronouns in terms of first person, second person, and third person. uh, Now I would want to keep it very simple because this video I want even the beginners, learners, and everyone who wants to know about the basics to be able to understand it. So I would just say to remember that with I, with you, and with plural, you will always use walk and you will not use an S with it. And with the singular, you will always use walk, like, or any other verb, and it'll take an S or ES with it. Now let's talk about forming a negative sentence. So a negative sentence structure would be like it would have a subject, then we have do or does, and it would take not, and then the base verb. Now I have written base over here because the verb will never take an S or ES in the negative sentence. So if you look at the chart now, it has three columns. If you look at the right, extreme right column, the verb column has walk, and there is no S over here in either of these, which means the verb will stay as walk. Now, the first column has the subject. So again, I have I, you, we, they, and a plural subject, and this would be do not, and then we have walk. So I do not walk. You do not walk. We do not walk. Now, not would of course remain the same in every case. The thing that is going to change over here is do and does, and this would again follow the same rule as in the positive sentence of whether you are going to be using an S, ES, or whether you're not going to use it. So with I, you, and the plural, you're not going to use the S or ES. And with the singular, you are going to use the ES. So that's why it's going to be he does not walk. Now you cannot say he does not walks. Now that would be wrong. So no S or ES with the base verb. That is a must that you have to remember. Now, coming over to questions or interrogative sentences. So here the sentence, the question is going to start with a do or does, and then it's going to be followed with a subject and followed by a verb, again the base verb. So if you look at the three columns here, just like in the previous sentences, the negative sentences, the verb, the base verb does not take an S or ES. It stays as such. And the question starts with either a do or a does. And the do will go with I, you, and the plural. And does will go with he, she, it, singular. So we would say, do you walk? Do we walk? Does she walk? Does he walk? Now we're not going to be saying, do you walks or does he walks? That's a very common mistake. So if we are using a do or a does, you are not going to be using S with the base verb. So here I have broken it down a few of the verbs to clarify whether you're going to be using an S or an ES. So we have here work, works, it takes an S with it. Write, it takes an S with it, writes. Watch, watches. Wash, washes. Mix, mixes. Bless, blesses. Go, goes. Now, if you look at these sentences, these words, you would notice that the rule is the same that you use to form plurals from a singular word. So the words ending with ch, sh, x, ss, and o will take the endings es to form the simple present. We have some exceptions here. So study, studies. Now study ends with Y and studies is IES. So it's STUDIES. Now stay again ends with Y, but it just takes an S with it. Now how do we know if it has to take an IES or an S? So here is the rule for it. If the word is ending in a consonant plus a Y, so if the Y is, if the Y has a consonant before it, in this case D, then we remove the Y and we add IES. On the other hand, if we have a vowel before Y, then we don't omit the Y, we don't delete the Y, we just add an S. So that is the rule for this, and this will help you, form the spellings. Be careful with the spellings, whether you are using an IES or whether you are just using an S. And now let's talk a bit about the pronunciation of the S and ES endings. So S and ES endings pronunciations are the pronunciation, is three. I would say into three sounds. So we have the S sound, Z, the Z sound, and uz, the uz sound. So for example, I have here three columns, and you have the words in each column. But how do you know? How would you know which sound to pronounce? Whether you're going to pronounce the S sound or the Z sound or the US sound. So here is what can help you a bit. So we have hard sounds and soft sounds. So if you have a soft sound, if you have a soft consonant sound before the S, then you're going to be using the S sound. For example, works, likes, breaks, takes. No, k is a soft sound, and its counterpart g is a hard sound. So if you have the word dig, you're going to be saying digs, not digs. So you have to be very careful with that. Now let's take a look at the second sound that we have, the z sound. So we have here adds, loves, tries, gives. So be very careful with these sounds. And then the sound, catches, dances, washes, misses. I hope this has helped you uh, to understand the present tense, the form, and how to use it, where do we use it, and how to pronounce the endings. And now it's your turn. So, when you are taking the IELTS exam, uh, you're going to be asked questions in your speaking part, which would cover all the three tenses. Now, you have to be careful with which tense to use. Now, here I have given an example of a question. So, describe your typical day at school or work. Now, this is something that you can describe using the simple present tense. So, if you have any questions or any comments, please make them or write your comments in the section below. Uh, and if you want me to improve the videos, I can do that too. Your feedback would be highly appreciated. Thank you so much. Keep watching more videos, and good luck with your exam and with your English learning.